Good morning and happy Friday, everyone. My name is Nick Marro with Occupy Fantasy. You could find me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS. Excuse me, I'm here once again to help you break down this 9 game NBA DFS slate on both DraftKings and FanDuel. We have a solid Friday night slate tonight starting at 7 p.m. Eastern on both sites, as is often the case. I'm going to quickly walk through game by game, going through the major injuries, let you guys know my favorite plays so far. As is always the case with NBA DFS, definitely keep an eye on the news throughout the day. If you haven't already, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. That helps us get more free content like this out to you. And also check the links in the description below to become a member of Occupy Fantasy today, where you get access to the model I'm going to be using on this video that you see right here. We also have a single lineup builder, multi lineup builder, private Discord server full of DFS pros to help you improve your game, including a 30-minute window leading up to each slate's lock where you can ask your lineup specific questions. So, excuse me, 9 game slate tonight. A lot of injury news we already have, a little bit more we're probably going to be waiting on. So, yeah, I'm going to go through game by game and hopefully do it quickly. So, let's get right into it. First game on the slate, we have the Atlanta Hawks at the Indiana Pacers. Um, the Hawks are 2.5 point favorites on the road. The game total here is 238.5 points. So, definitely a good game environment. The big piece of news here is on the Indiana side. Tyrese Halliburton did leave the stadium in crutches last time out, on crutches rather. Obviously, not something you want to see. But what that means for us in DFS is we get to get some value from this team. Namely, TJ McConnell and Andrew Nemhard are going to look excellent on both sites. So McConnell is the true point guard. As far as Halliburton's direct backup, he hasn't always started when Halliburton's been out, but I do think he should here. Even if he doesn't, he's a really solid play. He's going to do most of the ball handling, even if he comes off the bench. Definitely easier to get to on DK, where he's only 4,100, 5K on FanDuel. A little bit tougher to stomach, but FanDuel's just done a better job at kind of pricing guys up when they know there's going to be an injury this season. Andrew Nemhard, same story. Really, really solid rookie. He's been great all season. Whenever he gets extra usage or minutes, we've seen pretty good games out of him. So just starting on the first game on the slate, we have two of the better value pieces. I really like McConnell. I really like Nemhard. Secondary options like Buddy Hield. Hield especially looks excellent here. Could see getting to some Aaron Naismith, Benedict Mathurin, but you can see reflected in the ownership. The most popular plays are going to be Nemhard and McConnell on both sites. Miles Turner looks good here. A little bit of extra usage for him. Definitely better on DK, where you're getting him sub 7K. But yeah, the priorities are Nemhard and McConnell. I do really like Buddy Hield. I think he's a little bit too low owned compared to those two. So I can see getting to a lot of him. If we see Mathurin start, he'd become a priority for me. He's really, really talented, just hasn't necessarily been as hot as he was earlier in the season. But I do like his upside as an ownership pivot. And then Aaron Naismith's fine. Not someone I'm rushing to get to. Again, it's really the backcourt in Demhard and McConnell. I also really like Buddy Hield, but with Halliburton out, there's no denying there's a lot of extra usage to go around. Over on the Atlanta Hawks side, Trae Young's back tonight. He did miss last game. Clint Capella is still out. No Jarrett Culver. So the one big piece here we're really interested in is Onyeka Okongwu. No surprise, there's a lot of good centers on this Friday slate. But Okongwu, I mean, as long as Capella's out, he's been really effective. I like him over on DK where he's only 5,600. John Collins looks good on both sides as well. He's actually been really solid with Capella out of the lineup. His price is up on both sites, so I don't know that you have to force him in here. On FanDuel in particular, where he's up to 7K, but he is a really strong play. And as is always the case, Trae Young looks good. Don't mind him at all on either site. Tons of good guards tonight. I don't know that you have to prioritize him. But he's someone I consider. Same with DeJounte Murray. Hunter is a secondary play, but the only real priority for me from Atlanta is a Kongwu. But definitely those guards for Indiana are going to be building blocks for us tonight. So definitely a game to keep an eye on in case any more news breaks. But I think as things stand, McConnell and Nemhard are both borderline core plays, and I do really like Okongwu as one of the better value centers on the board. So spent plenty of time on that game. Let's move into the next one. We have Detroit Pistons at the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans are 5 point favorites on the road in Detroit. Um, So let's take a look here. Still no Brandon Ingram, still no Zion Williamson. Herbert Jones is questionable. He did miss last game. He could be back tonight. So keep an eye on that. But as things stand, the priorities here are pretty obvious. I mean, CJ McCollum, as long as Zion and Ingram are out, has been excellent. I like him here tonight once again. His price is up over 9K on both sites, but we're getting him at pretty low ownership, so I think he's a solid option. Najee Marshall's been excellent with these guys out of the lineup. I think he's fine, even where he's 6,300 on FanDuel, 5,800 on DK. Then Jonas Valanciunas, another decent mid-range value center that we can consider. Definitely has a wide range of outcomes. I kind of consider him to be a boom bust type play, but he's someone you could consider here. Jose Alvarado, starting a point guard, probably. If he does, I think he's okay. We did see Dyson Daniels get into the starting lineup last time out. He came close to hitting value near min price. So he's someone you could consider if Jones is out again and Dyson Daniels does start. But really, the priority plays here are CJ McCollum and Najee Marshall, also like Joe Valen tournaments. But yeah, this is a situation we're used to. The sites have kind of caught up on the pricing, so there's not a ton of value here, but it isn't a bad spot for sure, especially against Detroit, who just hasn't been all that great defensively. On the Detroit side of the ball, no Marvin Bagley, Cade Cunningham still out, Jalen Duren's still out. So with Bagley and Duren out, Isaiah Stewart is questionable. If Isaiah Stewart's in, he does look excellent here. You're getting power forward and center eligibility for him on both sites, so you don't have to use up that center spot. I like him a lot on DK at 5,300. 6K is fine on FanDuel, especially if you're using him at power forward. Bojan Bogdanovic looks fine. Killian Hayes, these are all okay plays, but as this team gets healthy, they're kind of priced where they should be. I could see mixing them in. It isn't a terrible matchup against New Orleans. But yeah, you're kind of picking and choosing between scoring dependent guards and wings. I mean, Diallo, Bay, Ivy, Hayes, Bogdanovich, one could argue they're all scoring dependent. So maybe pick and choose. These are kind of the guys you'll land on as a last man in building your lineups. Not the most obvious value here, other than Stewart if he's in. But I don't mind some Detroit, especially as New Orleans banged up. It should be a competitive game. Uh, Moving into the next game on the slate, we have the New York Knicks at the Washington Wizards. No major injury news for the Knicks. So let's scroll down to them quickly here. No pun intended. Emmanuel quickly is not really viable anymore now that RJ Barrett is back in the lineup. I don't mind Barrett. He's seeing full run of minutes. Small forward's always a thin position. So just off that alone, he's worth considering. Jalen Brunson looks good here. Just over 8K on both sides. He's been really effective over the past few weeks. Probably my favorite Nick play from this game. But yeah, not a priority by any stretch. Mitchell Robinson, another boom bust center. Julius Randle looks good, but a little bit overpriced now that he's north of 10K with RJ Barrett back and healthy. So a decent spot here for guys like Barrett, Brunson, Randle, but really no one I'm prioritizing on the Knicks side of the ball. For the Wizards, a little bit more interesting. Bradley Beal's still out. Kristaps Porzingis is questionable. Monte Morris is questionable. Daniel Gafford is questionable. So this is the first situation we really, really need to keep an eye on. If Porzingis is in, he's a solid play with Beal out of the lineup. Much better on FanDuel where he's 8,700. 10K on DK is going to be tough for me to stomach. Then Kyle Kuzma really put up a dud last time out with Porzingis and Beal out of the lineup. But if Porzingis is out again tonight, I do think we have to look to Kuzma. Really solid option here. Gafford, who I mentioned, is questionable. If he's out, the only real centers they're going to have are Vernon Carey and Taj Gibson. One could argue they're both power forwards, but if Taj starts at center again, I do think, even though he's not popping in the model yet, he'd be someone we consider as a value play. But yeah, if Morris is out, I mean, then we're really looking at guys like Denny Avila, who had a huge game, Delon Wright. Rui Hachimura was a bit of a letdown last time out, but as more of these guys are ruled out, you see more minutes for him. He does have a pretty high fantasy point per minute rate when he is going to get extended minutes, so I don't mind Rui. DeLon Wright, never someone I usually trust, but if Morris is out, he'd certainly be in consideration. But keep an eye on this one. Lots of questionable players. Again, Gafford's questionable. If he's out, I like Gibson. Morris, if he's out, whoever starts at point guard is going to be interesting to me. But Denny Avila, don't be fooled by his position. He is a small forward, but he does a lot of ball handling. So if Morris is out, that would be a big boost to Denny, especially if KP's out as well. So keep an eye on that. There's going to be some Wizards to like here, whether it's Kuzma and KP, whether it's just Kuzma. And if Morris is in, I think he's okay. But if he's out, we're definitely going to look at guys like Denny, maybe Delon Wright if he starts at that point guard position. So a situation we need to keep an eye on for Washington. Next game on the slate, we have the Golden State Warriors at the San Antonio Spurs. Just clicking over, looking at the spreads, etc., on my other screen here. The Warriors are 8.5 point favorites on the road. They They did get Steph back last time out. He's no longer on the injury report. The only guys who are out are going to be JaMychal Green, Jonathan Kuminga, James Wiseman. So the Warriors are one of these teams. There's a few on the slate. Now that they're healthy, they're all kind of priced where they should be. So it's tough for me to want to get to anyone here. It is a good matchup against San Antonio. The spread's close enough. So I could see maybe mixing in Poole, Wiggins, Curry, Green, or Thompson as like a last guy in. But really, there are no priorities here. Guys like DiVincenzo become less viable, as does an Anthony Lamb. Just a healthy team, all kind of priced where they should be. So not much I really want to talk about for Golden State. Um, Over on the Spurs side of the ball, there is some news we're waiting on here. No, Keldon Johnson's back. He's in. He looks good. I like him on both sites. Devin Vassell is out. Charles Bassey is out. But yeah, the big news is Devin Vassell being out. I mean, he's usually their highest usage player. When he's out of the lineup, we see Keldon really pop in models and projections. So I do like Keldon Johnson here. Trey Jones as another guard value play. We obviously have a lot of good guard value on the slate. So Trey Jones is someone you could consider. But let me pencil in Keldon Johnson right now. I actually think with Vassell out, if this game's going to be competitive, he is very appealing here. Obviously, some blowout risk, but Golden State just hasn't been clicking like one might expect them to. So I can see getting to Keldon on both sites and feeling really good about it. Um, Trey Jones, again, good play. Someone I'd be considering at guard, not necessarily someone you need to force. And then Jakob Poeltl, he's finally back seeing over 30 minutes per game. Just going to click on his game log here real quick on FanDuel. Only played 25 minutes last time, but got over 40 fantasy points. We are seeing those ceiling games out of him on occasion now, which makes him, once again, a good tournament play at center at low ownership, but not someone you have to force. Obviously, the priority here is Keldon Johnson. Trey Jones I like as well, but Keldon's kind of the core play, so definitely get some Keldon in your life tonight. Moving into the next game on the slate, we have the Chicago Bulls at the Oklahoma City Thunder. This one's tricky. The Thunder are on a back-to-back. We don't have their injury report yet, but the Bulls have released theirs. They're at home. They're 4-point favorites. We got a 234.5-point game total here, so solid total. No Lonzo Ball, no surprise there. DeMar DeRozan's still going to be out. That's the big one. He is doubtful. Zach LaVine is probable. Javonte Green's out as well. But with DeRozan out of the lineup, we have to look at Zach LaVine. Even as that price comes up, he's up to 9-2 on DK, 8-6 on FanDuel. Still love him here. One of your better guard plays. You're getting him at both small forward and shooting guard as well, which makes him even easier to get to. Vooch looks fine at center. Really solid play. 8,500, 8,100 in a great matchup against a very, very thin OKC front court. So definitely could see getting to some Vooch. LaVine is my priority here. And then, I mean, Kobe White was the better of the 2 point guards last time out. Um, I think Caruso probably gets the start again, so I think you could go with either or. I don't mind Caruso. I don't mind White. I do prefer those guards for Indiana we talked about to start this show. But yeah, either of these guys are going to be fine as value plays if you want to get a little bit different. They are drawing ownership, though. As that comes up, it's going to be tougher for me to want to get to Caruso or White, but they're certainly both viable. Don't mind Patrick Williams as kind of a last man in type play. Drummond in large field tournaments. If Vooch ever gets in foul trouble, he's the type of guy that can really help you climb a leaderboard, but certainly not someone I'd be prioritizing or using if I'm only building a handful of lineups. So the priorities here are LaVine and Vooch. Both look excellent. I could see mixing in some White and Caruso as value. Even Patrick Williams is the last man in. So Chicago does look really good here. Definitely a team I plan to have exposure to tonight. Over on the OKC side, we are waiting on the injury report. This is a team who does rest their better players. Let's assume they're healthy for now. I mean, SGA looks excellent as he always does. Josh Giddey, solid play on both sites, both worth getting to. Neither are major priorities, but I do like their prices. Jalen Williams with a Y got the start at center last time out. I think he is power forward eligible on FanDuel. If you want to use him at power forward as a punt, I think he's fine as long as he's starting. So something to keep an eye on. He did get close to 20 fantasy points, even up against Joel Embiid last night. So that was something that was encouraging for his upside. Not really a player I'm forcing, though. Definitely keep an eye on this OKC news. They are a team who has been known to rest players on back-to-back. So as things stand, not rushing to anything here. I just kind of think they play everyone and they're healthy. If they do start resting guys, though, we're going to see a lot of value open up for OKC. Like if SGA is out, then Giddey looks great. If both are out, we're going to get to someone like Trey Mann, even an Isaiah Joe. So a situation we need to keep an eye on. But as things stand, no priorities. Just really like SGA and Giddey. Moving into the next game on the slate, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves at the Phoenix Suns. Looking for the spread here. The Suns are 5-point underdogs on the road in Minnesota. Timberwolves favored, 223.5 point game total here. Suns still no Devin Booker, still no Chris Paul, still no campaign, still no Landry Shamet. DeAndre Ayton is questionable. So yeah, once again, we have to look to Phoenix. I imagine the prices have come up on some of these guys. Yeah, Dwayne Washington's been super popular as value. He's over 5K on both sites now, so not nearly the priority he's been. I still think he's fine, just not someone I'm forcing. He's actually better in blowouts. Like they don't like him closing. So if this game gets out of hand, that would actually benefit Washington. So as things stand, I'm really not prioritizing him, especially at 19% on DK. That feels too high for a 9-game slate. We got Mikal Bridges here. He's probably my favorite Sun as things stand. Just a solid mid-range forward option. He's fine with Booker. And Paul out, he's going to have to see increased usage. And then Dario Saric, where we're getting him at 4,400 on DK. As long as he's starting with Ayton out, I do think he's a good play. If Ayton's backing in, he's going to be viable. But if he's out, again, I do like Saric. You could even mix in some Biyombo or Landale. Either would be priorities for me, though. And Torrey Craig, his price doesn't seem to move, even though he's had some really good games with Booker and Paul out. So Phoenix is fine here. Really tough to trust them just because I don't know. All the prices are up, and it's not the most talented team, but there are value options here for us to consider for sure. Over on the Minnesota side of the ball, Kyle Anderson's questionable, Anthony Edwards is questionable, Jordan McLaughlin's out, Torian Prince is questionable, and Carl Anthony Towns is still out. So if Edwards is in, he's solid. If he's out, D'Angelo Russell becomes a priority. Definitely keep an eye on that. Rudy Gobert is priced where he should be. Solid option, not someone I'm forcing necessarily. But with Cat still out of the lineup, he's going to be a solid center play as long as he stays under 8K. Kyle Anderson, if he's in, I think he's fine. If he's out, we can look to guys like Jaden McDaniels or Naz Reid as secondary options, but really no priorities here unless Edwards is ruled out again, in which case I'd really, really like D'Angelo Russell tonight. So moving into the 9 o'clock window now, we have the Orlando Magic at the Utah Jazz. Um, the Magic are 6-point underdogs in Utah, 233.5 point game total here. So let's talk about Orlando first. So Orlando's as healthy as they've been all season. Just another one of these teams. It's tough to know who you want to pluck on a given night. Who's going to go off from this team, if anyone? They're just healthy, deep rotation. They should be getting Jonathan Isaac back soon as well. So they're going to get even tougher to roster. But as things stand, I mean, tonight, no Hampton, no Kevon Harris, no Chuma Okeke. Jalen Suggs is questionable. If Suggs is out, that would be a benefit to Cole Anthony and Markelle Fultz. But really, no priorities for me from Orlando. They're just not the best team, and they got a lot of mouths to feed now. So just not a place I'm really rushing to get to. On the Utah side, no Kelly Olynyk, no Talen Horton Tucker is questionable, as is Colin Sexton. So in so many words, I really like Walker Kessler with Kelly Olynyk out of the lineup. He's been inconsistent. We've seen him get into foul trouble. Doesn't always hit value, but he is cheaper than Okongwu, who I mentioned is one of my favorite centers. And you're getting him with Kelly Olynyk out of the lineup against an Orlando team that's really not that great defensively, especially in the front court. So really like Walker Kessler here. If Colin Sexton's still out, I'd be on some Malik Beasley. You see him drawing ownership. Lauri Markkanen's price is way, way up on DK at 9,800. Tough for me to get to him over there, but on FanDuel at just 8,200, I like him a lot, as the field does, as you're seeing him over 25%. But if Sexton's back, I mean, it's going to make everyone look a little bit worse. Guys like Jordan Clarkson and Mike Conley especially. But as things stand, I do think you could prioritize Kessler as one of the better center value plays on the slate. Um, Moving into the next game, we have the 10 o'clock window. The Denver Nuggets are at the Los Angeles Clippers. Clippers are 2-point favorites at home. 225-point total here. This is a tricky one. So Denver, Jokic is listed as questionable. If he's in, he's the one play on Denver I'm really interested in. If he's out, everyone else is going to become very appealing. So this is a situation we have to keep an eye on for sure. I wouldn't be playing DeAndre Jordan even if he starts at center for Jokic. He's just terrible at this point. At this point in his career. Instead, I'd be going to guys like Bruce Brown, Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter, because they're all going to see a massive bump in usage. Jokic is one of the highest usage rates in the NBA. So again, if he's in, he's excellent. If he's out, all the other starters are going to look good here. Um, Jamal Murray's probable. If he was out, I'd like Bones Highland. If we ever see Bones Highland starting, he's one of my favorite value options, but I don't think we will here, even if Jokic is out. Could still see getting to some in large field tournaments, but the priorities for me would be Gordon and Murray. More so Murray on DK, where he's only 6,700. That's just a misprice, in my opinion. Jokic is out. He's going to be one of the better center plays on the slate. I mean, guard plays on the slate, rather. But again, obviously, if Jokic is in, he looks good here. So let's talk about the Clippers. On the Clippers side of the ball, Paul George is still out. No Luke Kennard either, which makes Kawhi Leonard look really solid. He is now priced up to almost 10K on DK, which is tough to see. Still think he's borderline GPP viable, but certainly no longer a priority. On FanDuel at just 9K flat, I do like him a lot. You can play him at either forward position. And then Robert Covington's getting a lot of ownership. Just make sure he's starting. If he's not starting, he's someone you can't really trust. We've seen him DNP CD'd a few times this year. Just I don't know. It's difficult for me to want to get there. Reggie Jackson's kind of fallen out of favor with Ty Lue, so we've been seeing Terrence Mann starting at guard lately. You can still play him at small forward on FanDuel. I like him better over there, but he's someone I'd be considering on both sites. Then secondary options like Norm Powell, Marcus Morris, and Nicholas Batum are all fine with Paul George out of the lineup, but the priorities are going to be Covington here if he starts. I like Terrence Mann better if he starts at point guard, and then if you can afford Kawhi, he's obviously a decent play. Moving into the next game on the slate, last game on the slate, we have the Houston Rockets at the Sacramento Kings. Kings are 10-point favorites at home. We're looking at a 238-point total here. Big news for Houston. Kevin Porter Jr. appears to be out tonight. Left the game injured, which is going to open up a lot of extra usage for someone like Jalen Green. Where is Green? Not seeing him pop in the model right now, which is interesting. I do imagine he will soon. I put him on the cover for a reason. Jalen Green's one of my favorite guard plays on the slate tonight. I'm going to click into these lineups. I'm just loosely building. Drop in Jalen Green on FanDuel for 7K. I'm glad I get to emphasize this with him not being in the model yet because he is one of my favorite plays on the board. 7,600 on DK is a little more expensive. Still fine getting to him there. So what we built so far on DK has us with 7,200 left per person, 7,400 left on FanDuel. So you could still pick a stud that you like and feel pretty good about it. But yeah, with Kevin Porter out of the lineup, Jalen Green's going to dominate the usage here. He's going to do most of the ball handling. We could also get the guys like Eric Gordon, Alperen Sengun. They're fine as secondary options. I do like Sengun as a center play, especially on DK where he is sub 10% owned. Wide range of outcomes, but against Sacramento, obviously that's one of the better situations for opposing offenses on the board for NBA DFS this year. Eric Gordon's fine as a boom bust play coming off a really solid game. Definitely better on DK. But if he's going to be taking a lot of shots with Jalen Green, I do think you could get to him here and feel pretty good about it. I'm wondering why he's not in the model right now. If Jalen Green did get ruled out or something while I'm making this video, that would be surprising to me. But I think he's in which case he is going to be one of my preferred guard plays on the board. So really like Green, don't mind Gordon or Sengun. Jabari Smith and secondary options are okay for Houston, but there is a lot of extra usage to go around with Kevin Porter out of the lineup. Again, Jalen Green's my favorite play in that regard. Now just talking quickly about Sacramento here. No major news, just Kevin Huerter questionable. If Huerter is out, we could see Terrence Davis or Malik Monk slide into the starting lineup. Both would be appealing as value options. We saw Terrence Davis start last time out. Had a pretty good game, still near min price on both sides. He's going to be a decent piece of value. Fox and Sabonis, as is always the case, are fine pay-up options. Don't mind Harrison Barnes either in that mid-range. As I always say, he's never the most exciting play, but he's kind of priced where he should be, and he hits value consistently. So as a last man in type, he's someone I really like to play in DFS. Again, but if Herder's out, Monk is going to look a lot better, as will Terrence Davis. Keegan Murray just still a bit too cheap on DK. I don't mind him as kind of a last man in either if you can't get to a Harrison Barnes. So a lot to like in this game. Just one last quick look at the model here. I'm going to hit refresh, see if maybe Jalen Green pops back in. But yeah, really fun slate. We got 9 games tonight. Again, my name's Nick Marro. You can find me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS. Check the links in the description below to sign up with Occupy Fantasy. Please like the video. Also subscribe to the channel. Oh, there's Jalen Green. Okay, now Jalen Green's in here. I feel better now. One of my favorite guard plays on the slate. Getting lots of ownership, but he should be. Sorting quickly by index. No surprise, we're seeing Jokic at the top. Again, he's questionable. If he's in, which I think he will be, he's probably the best pay up on the slate. I know I have a Kongwu penciled in, but I would prioritize Jokic over him if you can get to him for sure. SGA, Sabonis, Vooch, no surprises there. Again, DeRozan's out for the Bulls, so you're going to like Vooch and Levine a lot. No Paul George makes Kawhi look good. Julius Randle's fine. CJ McCollum, no Zion or Ingram, and then Lauri Markkanen on FanDuel is excellent at 8,200. So a lot to like on the top end. Sorting quickly by value, we're going to see the guards for the Pacers up here. Eric Gordon's popping, Alex Caruso as well with DeRozan out of the lineup. But yeah, I think I trust McConnell and Nembhard more than Caruso. Same on FanDuel, seeing similar value. No surprises there. KJ Martin did get a lot of looks last time out. I didn't mention him when talking about Houston, but he's another value play you can certainly consider. So once again, my name's Nick Marro with Occupy Fantasy. Let's have a fun Friday slate tonight and make some money. Good luck, everyone. Take care.